and welcome to this week's YouTube video. Every 4 weeks I do a Procreate video where I try and transfer my fine art painting skills to Procreate. This week I thought I would show you how I painted this tuxedo cat. I loved the cat's whiskers and that's why I wanted to paint this one. Before I show you the time-lapse video, let me show you the brushes that I used. These were the wet acrylic, the turpentine brush, 6B compressed, charcoal block, 6B pencil and Derwent pencil. The most important thing to remember about your brushes is that you are best off using brushes that all make different marks. Just because I am trying to create an art painting effect does not mean I have to use only brushes from the painting section. Let's have a look at the video and then I'll speak about what I'm doing as I go along. The easiest way to keep your drawing correct is to draw around your reference photo and place it at the top of your layers panel. You can then turn the guide on and off as you are painting to check your drawing is correct. This is especially useful because I am going to be doing large expressive strokes in the first part of the painting, so I can focus on my brushwork without having to worry about my drawing. I'll briefly mention my layers panel. Remember, when working with wet paint brushes like the turpentine and wet acrylic, they will move your pixels around. Therefore, if you want to take advantage of this effect, then stay on one layer. If, however, you do not want this effect, then start a new layer. I have done this painting on 6 layers. I have started a new layer every time I have not wanted to take advantage of my wet brushes. So this is usually in instances where I want to lay some transparent wet acrylic strokes over some turpentine strokes. I also adjust my opacity a lot and also my brush size depending upon the effect I'm trying to create. Play about with these and think about whether you want strokes to show through, so go more transparent, or you want more block-in painting, so go more opaque. You'll notice I have a few attempts to start this painting. The first few strokes are important. They should be bold, large and expressive. I am using my turpentine brush, but you'll also see I briefly use the watercolour brush to get that smudgy ink effect. This will help break up my edges later on. I then use my wet acrylic brush to start blocking in my cat. I don't go straight in with my dark values because I want to build it up in more transparent layers and allow the brushwork to be more visible. Visible brushwork will give my cat energy. I am using dark values from my red colour picker. Notice at this point how visible that edge is across the top of the head. Remember, soft and broken edges will make your work look more arty. Harder, more visible edges will make it look more cartoony. Therefore, I want to try and break that edge with some of my background grey. It takes me several attempts trying different brushes before I get something that I like. In the end, it's the turpentine brush that works well for me, but this may not always be the case. You'll just need to try different brushes until you get the effect you want. Every stroke I make is deliberate. I have an idea in my mind of how I want my cat to look and I just go through different brushes trying things until I find the right one. I then pencil across the top of the head with the Derwent brush to suggest that line. I start to block in my white areas. I am concentrating on the large value blocks. I'm using the charcoal block and I'm in the green-yellow colour picker down the left-hand side. It takes me a couple of attempts to get the right value. I went too light to start with. I'm using a combination of the charcoal block and the turpentine brush to try and get my values correct on that chest. I put in the nose using my 6B pencil. I've actually adjusted the size of this to around 30 in the brush adjustments. It doesn't quite let me go that large. I'm in the red colour picker. This side will give me cool reds and pinks. This side will give me much more saturated warm reds. So I just need to select my colour according to what I think I see on my reference photo. I am switching between my 6B, my wet acrylic and my turpentine brush, just depending upon what marks I am trying to make. If I am aiming for soft edges and a soft paint effect, I will use either my wet acrylic or my turpentine brush. When I start to put that light value white paint onto the cat's face, I switch to my 6B at its maximum size and opacity. I want that white to look really heavy in comparison to my other soft, more transparent strokes. Look how sketchy and painterly that brushwork looks. This is what I'm aiming for because when I put in the more highly rendered eyes, it will contrast nicely and make them pop. It takes me a few more attempts to destroy that edge on the side of the face. This is where I introduce some blue and some blue-green to my artwork. Remember, blue is the coolest colour on the colour wheel. It is cooler than white, so if I lay it between my grey-green background and my white fur, this will help to create the feeling of form. It will feel as though the side of the cat's face is bending away from the viewer. I add some blue to this side of the cat too for the same reason, and around the top of the white fur area on the face. I'm using my wet acrylic and have turned down my opacity, so the strokes are very transparent. For the cat's eyes, I use only the wet acrylic brush. You may wonder how you get that glassy look. This is an illusion that comes with placing cool colours next to warm colours. If I crop in very close to the eye, you will see it's not particularly well blended. It's just that I've placed cool colours next to warm colours. The pupil in that eye is a red-black. When placed next to a yellow-green, it pops simply because it is so much warmer. Look at the black fur around the eye. Notice how I am continually shifting between a warm black-red and a cool black-blue-green. Notice how you can see all those different colours and temperatures in my brushwork. We call that broken colour. Up close it looks quite messy and streaky, but when I start to reduce my artwork in size, you'll notice how the brushwork begins to give my cat energy and form. If you are not sure what colours are warm and cool, just remember red is your warmest colour on the colour wheel, and as colours move away from red towards blue, they become cooler. Blue is the coolest colour. Green and purple are transitionary colours because they can be both warm and cool. Everything is relative to what is next to it. Looking at the colour picker for our warmer colours of red, orange, yellow and yellow-green, I also have the option of choosing cooler versions of these colours, which are down the left-hand side. As I move across to the right, the colour is warmer and more saturated. Therefore, if I am working on a yellow eye, I can choose both my warm and cool yellows all from here. If you find your yellow isn't quite warm enough, just push your colour picker closer towards orange. If you find your yellow isn't quite cool enough, then push the colour picker more towards green. The whiskers are very straightforward to do. I always use my Derwent pencil for this. Start a new layer and just draw these in a lighter value. Don't go too light though, else they'll look fake. Draw them in confidently. Don't worry if the strokes do not exactly match your guide. It is more important that the stroke is confident and fluid. Then take your rubber and turn the transparency right down. Start to rub out the edges so they look less prominent. Then lighten your value a little again, make your brush a little larger and start to go over the thicker parts of the whiskers near the face. This will give you a realistic whisker. And that's it, the finished painting. I hope you have enjoyed today's video and found it useful. Please like and subscribe if you can, and check out my website sarahhallidayart.com, where you will find examples of my work and also details of online classes that I run. Thank you for watching and see you for the next one.